Can we find all this in London?
If you know where to go.
Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're a subscriber, thank you so much for subscribing and looking out for the videos and liking the videos if you're doing that, and for just checking out the videos. It's nice to be encouraged, and I do enjoy doing this, so it's nice to have the little chats that we have. If you just found the channel, hello. If you like this book haul, this is a book haul. You might find some stuff that shows you what I'm reading, what kind of stuff I'm into, and it might be something that might make you want to subscribe. So anyway, this is a book haul video I wasn't planning to do yet, but I had a lovely day in London yesterday, book hunting, retail therapy and all that. And it was a really successful day. Got some fantastic stuff, and so that's why that little sound clip that I like using, that today was a London-based sound clip, because 15 books I got yesterday, really cool books that some I've been looking for a while, and some that was just great finds. And the whole book haul today is 48 books, so I'm going to rattle through them relatively quickly, but hopefully spend enough time on them so you can see whether or not you'd like to get them or not, or whatever, or what might pique your curiosity. If you have any of these books, please let me know what you think. If you have any opinions about the authors, love to know what you think. That's why these book hauls are awesome. I love watching other people's book hauls. Here we go. Another thing I wanted to say was a lot of these books, especially from the London purchases, are from booktubers' recommendations. So big hello to those people. If you see me commenting on your page, or we have a little chat, then you know who I'm talking about. And yeah, so it's really cool that you find out lots of interesting books on this thing. Hopefully I can do some reciprocating of that today. Okay, so London, London, love London so much. London, this is a really nice find. I've seen this lots of times, but this is currently in the 2 for £6 thing in FOP. So Death and the Penguin. I want to read more translated works, and I've got some Japanese and Russian stuff already on my TBR list, and this was definitely one I wanted to get to. It's a philosophical book with a talking penguin. Can't go wrong there. Death and the Penguin. So if you've read this, let me know what you think. There was also in FOP, there's huge load of Philip K. Dick books. If you want to get an instant collection of Philip K. Dick, go down to FOP. It's 2 for £6. It's well good. And they had loads there, but I bought this one because I've got some already, and I want to continue my delve through Philip K. Dick. I read 2 of his books when I was really young, and recently I read Ubik, which I thought was fantastic, and Time Out of Joint, which I didn't like that much, so I might be checking out again, I'm not sure. But this is supposed to be one of his best, so I'm going to read that one as well. So, Martian Time Slip. I also found Hench. As you can see, Forbidden Planet had a few bargains when I went there. I've heard loads about this on YouTube, so I'm looking forward to getting into this. I really like the cover as well. Yeah, Hench. So this book is like from the point of view of a henchman, but a female henchman. So someone who works for a villain, nasty person who does wrong things. And apparently as you go through the book, the life of a henchman is kind of elaborated on with a lot of humour. And I think there's an element where she realises that her life isn't really being very satisfying, and she kind of ups her game as far as who she's going to be a henchman for, from what I gather. So yeah, this is supposed to be really good. This is one that, again, I got from FOP. It's a very short one, but another one that I wanted to continue my journey through translated works, and it does seem really interesting but really quite odd, so I'll just quickly read the back. Shimamura is tired of the bustling city. He takes the train through the snow to the mountains of the west coast of Japan to meet with a geisha who believes he loves. Beautiful and innocent, Komako is tightly bound by the rules of a rural geisha and lives a life of servitude and seclusion that is alien to Shimamura. Their love offers no freedom to either of them. Snow Country is both delicate and subtle, reflecting in Kawabata's exact lyrical writing, the unspoken love and the understated passion of the young Japanese couple. So, an exploration of love, possibly an exploration of the difficulties within love and that whole sort of unsatisfied, sort of unspoken thing as well, possibly. But looks really interesting, so I got that one. This is Confined Dietland, and it's got at the back, where is it? Fight Club meets Margaret Atwood. And it looks like a bit kind of a dystopian thing that also makes loads of comments about a body image and the way people are judged by what they look like. And it's a lot of humour in it, but a little bit of a feminist tinge to it as well. It looks really good. I hadn't heard of it before. I saw it in the shelves, read the back, and I thought that looks really good. So Dietland, I'll quickly read the back. Plum Kettle does her best not to be noticed, because when you're fat, to be noticed is to be judged, or mocked, or worse. But when a mysterious woman starts following her, Plum finds herself involved with an underground community of women who live life on their own terms. And at the same time, a dangerous guerrilla group called Jennifer begins to terrorise a world that mistreats women. As Plum grapples with her personal struggles, she becomes entangled in a sinister plot, the consequences of which are explosive. Looks really good. This one I've heard loads about from various different booktubers, and there's a little bit of money off, but I hadn't actually seen it in the flesh at all until I went to London, so that was a really nice find. Nothing But Blackened Teeth. I definitely saw Rachel from Shades of Orange talk about it. I'm pretty sure Juan from Played by Visions has talked about it. I think Ollie's talked about it in Criminally, so lots of people talked about it. Again, it's very short, but apparently very eerie and chilling, and it stays in your mind forever, which is quite a cool thing. I like that sort of thing. So I'm going to read Nothing But Blackened Teeth soon. I might be able to squeeze it into the Horror Mayhem thing in May. But yeah, apparently really effective ghost story. I think it's a ghost story, but really, really atmospheric and brutally delicious, according to N.K. Jemisin. I need to do this faster because this is going to be a very long video. This is another one I found that I'd heard a lot about. I think Ollie from Criminally just put this up on the screen recently, but I found this in Forbidden Planet, as you can see. Dark Star's collection of new horror stories by some awesome writers. And some of these writers are people that I'm going to find out what I think about them for the first time soon, which is cool. Ramsey Campbell I've known about for quite a while, but some of these other ones are newer writers that I'm going to be reading my first novel of theirs soon. So nice collection there, Dark Stars. While I was in Forbidden Planet, there was a really cool sale on, and because I've enjoyed the Stephen King hard case files, and I bought a couple of other hard case files cheap, I couldn't believe that I found these 99p hard case files. So I don't know if they're any good. This is a double book, so 2 books in one that are kidnapping books. So that was 99p, and that was 99p as well. Girl with Deep Blue Eyes. So I've not read that many crime stuff before, so it's kind of nice to sort of start looking into that sort of thing. Oh, and there is a crime writer that kind of writes sort of funny crime, which I'll talk about in a minute. But yeah, if these are any good, then I'll let you know. Has anyone read these? Are they any good? Are these writers any good? So Lawrence Block and Gregory MacDonald, are they any good? I don't know, but it's 99p each, so for brand new books. So that was pretty cool. This one, I've heard about Cory Doctorow a number of times, but I've never read anything by him. And I started reading the backs of the books in Forbidden Planet, and this was the one I picked. So Little Brother, this looked really good. Have you read Little Brother? Tell me what you think. It looks like a kind of a modern, kind of urban revolution thing, which has got loads and loads of comments on social media, which is really cool because I've got quite a lot of opinions about social media, and you know, it's a very complex web, excuse the pun, that thing creates in this crazy mixed up world. So yeah, if this book explores that, that'd be awesome. So Little Brother, Cory Doctorow. If you've read anything by him, we've read this, let me know. This was the one that I noticed on the other books that Neil Gaiman kept talking about this book on the comments on the other books. I was like, well, actually, I'll read the back of it, and it looked really good. So little brother. This was another one I found in Forbidden Planet. What an amazing cover. And I'll just read the back because it'll make it more obvious what it's about. 19 sparkling stories that weave between the lands of the living and the lands of the dead. Spirits Abroad is an expanded edition of Zencho's Crawford award-winning debut collection of 9 added stories, including the Hugo Award winner, If at First You Don't Succeed, Try Again. This looks like a really cool selection of short stories, and I've got a few more short story collections I've bought secondhand as well, which I'll show you in a minute. Yeah, this looks really good. So what an awesome cover though, eh? I mean, my eyes were drawn to it immediately when I saw that. And 4 more from London. So this is a John Wyndham book I hadn't seen before. It's in that same design collection that I've mentioned before when I did my John Wyndham video. And I really like his writing a lot. He's one of my favourite writers. So when I saw this, I thought, oh, I'll go for that. And this is a collection of his short stories. I've got Seeds of Time as well, which is another collection of his short stories. But I actually did see Seeds of Time in this format. I am tempted, even though I don't really like the covers that much. I like the feel of them. I like the sort of the colours and stuff. I think I mentioned this in the covers video I did, that despite the fact that some of the covers aren't great, I like the sort of the atmosphere they create, I guess. But I am tempted to get all of them in like this. But anyway, if you read this, let me know what you think. I really like John Wyndham a lot. And this one I saw in 3 different shops and then didn't buy it until the 3rd shop, and I thought I've got to get this because it looks so good. But I don't know if I hadn't heard of it before I'd seen it in the shop. The Swallowed Man by Edward Carey. Has anyone read this? I'll read a little bit in the back. I am writing this account in another man's book by candlelight inside the belly of a fish. I have been eaten, yet I am living still. I think this is like a twist on Pinocchio. Not sure, but it sounds awesome. So The Swallowed Man could be a really interesting little thing. I like this sort of absurd thing, which I want to do a video on absurdist novels. I've just recently reread Alice in Wonderland, and I'm going to talk a little bit in a minute about Andrew Kaufman. I love that sort of thing. And actually, the next thing I'm going to talk about is absurdist as well. So you may have seen me do a video on the 3 books by Rob Davis in this trilogy, Book of Forks. Those 3 books that I used in the video were borrowed, and I absolutely love them. I really love these books. So I've now bought one of them. That's my mission, to get the other 2. So yeah, I had to own these. I really, really love them. So this is very absurdist dystopian graphic novel. This is actually the 3rd in the series, so don't get this one first. Get the Can Opener's Daughter first. That's the first one, Can Opener's Daughter. It's a fantastic book, but it's quite well, it's very odd. It's not even quite odd. It's very odd, and it paints a society that doesn't really make a lot of sense. But it's mainly about 3 teenagers and the way that they deal with their own sort of mental health issues, and the society they live in is absolutely crazy. It rains knives, and the authorities are pictured in a very sort of surreal way. I have done a video on them, so I can be much more detailed in that video. So if you are curious, have a look at the video I've done on these 3 books. I think they're brilliant. So that was a nice find. I couldn't believe how big the graphic novel section was in Foyles. I know Foyles is a massive shop, clearly, but I'd never been in the graphic novel section before, and that was quite shocking. It was huge. And I found this, which looks really, really cool. And this is called The Dancing Plague. So what is really cool, I mean, it's a subject that hasn't really been talked about much. So there was in the 16th century, I think it was, there was like a kind of an illness that made people look like they were dancing, and that's kind of explored in this, I think, but it's kind of made more fantastical in the story. But also the artwork is just really dates back to that period, which is just amazing. So I couldn't resist it. Looks really good. So yeah. So yeah, The Dancing Plague. I'll let you know what I think of that one. So those were the books I bought in London. I had already got a whole bunch of stuff that I was going to talk about in a book haul. I was going to wait until after my birthday, but I had so much to talk about after that London trip. I thought, well, I'll do it now. So I'll talk about the other books I've bought. Right, so these are the books that I've bought that weren't from London. This one I've done a review of on my channel, and I bought that one in Portsmouth, in Waterstones. It's a brilliant, really good book. I really enjoyed it, and it's a lot of fun. Very John Scalzi in style, so if you know the kind of way he writes, then I'm sure you'll enjoy it. It's quite funny, but it's also got lots of inventive things in it, so it's quite a clever world building in it, I think. So the Kaiser Preservation Society, the newest one from John Scalzi, got that one. And when I did that review, I talked about how he sometimes references other things in his books, and he's definitely influenced by other things. And one of the books he's written, called Fuzzy Nation, is a remake of a previous, like a reimagining of a previous book. And I really wanted to get that, and finally I got it, which was this, Little Fuzzy by H. Beam Piper. So I got this online, and then, literally, like a few days later, I found a really cheap kind of £1.50 or something version of it. So I thought, well, I'll get it again because I'm constantly trying to find books. So it won't kill me to have this for like 50p or £1 or whatever it was, and I can always give it away once I've read it. But I can't wait to read Little Fuzzy. So I'm going to be reading that one soon, and I want to do a comparison of this and Fuzzy Nation, which I thought was brilliant. I really liked Fuzzy Nation, so I'm looking forward to reading the original. I also did a video of this one. I've already read this one, but this is one that I've bought since the last book haul video. Everything I Never Told You. I thought this book was brilliant. It's not the sort of book I'd normally read, but I saw it cheap, and I'd heard of her name being bandied about a lot, but I didn't know what kind of writing she wrote. But I looked at the back. I actually put that into the March Mysteries challenge, even though the mystery is a very small part of the book. But, you know, I hadn't read the book, so I didn't know. And it's really an exploration of family relationships and what matters in your love life and your relationships with your kids. It's a really powerful book. And obviously, well, not obviously, but it deals with death and bereavement and suicide and stuff like that. So, yeah, Everything I Never Told You is a fantastic book. Also, I have already done a video on Edgar Carey, and I've bought another one of his. So, it's a very strange author. When Michael K. Vaughan said on one of my videos, the video I did on the first book I discovered by him, I bought the book because it sounded interesting. I really hope he likes him, because he's a very strange author to recommend, because his books are so short and so slight, if you know what I mean, that they're very endearing and they feel important, but it also feels like somebody who just having this sort of stream of consciousness. So yeah, it's an interesting author, so I'm going to read more. I'm going to read this one, and I keep reading his stuff, I think, because I do really like him, but I find it difficult to know for sure whether to recommend him to people. But anyway, yeah, Edgar Carey. I am slowly rebuying the Lankmar books, the Fafford and Grey Mouser books. So I really like these, and I want to read them again. I've got a compendium one, but I want to buy each individual one again. So I've got 3 now. But I used to have all of them, but something happened to them. I don't know what it was. So now I've got Swords of Lankmar, so that's cool. This is another thing I've already mentioned because I talked about the book covers, and I've got 3 more Dresden Files books. So these books are the kind of design I don't really like. I don't really like these designs. But as I said in that video, they were really cheap, and it seems a bit stupid to spend out all that money just because you like a different kind of cover. So I've got a bunch of other of the Dresden Files books to read, and I'll get to these once I get there. So I'm on book 3, but I've got the first 11, I think, something like that. So yeah, they were good finds. Also, another author that I really like a lot, Yahtzee Croshaw. This is the last one, I think. I think there's any more that he's done that I haven't got. So Mogworld was his first book, I think, and it's kind of based on gaming, but he's a very funny author and really creative. I like the ideas, and this is definitely a very popular book as well. Like when I've talked about the other books by him, a lot of people have said, "Oh, have you read Mogworld yet?" So that's going to be read very soon. I did, because of the February Fantasy Stories tag, I did start the Elric books again, and this is the second book, Sailor on the Seas of Fate. I'm trying to read them individually, so I've got a big compendium of Elric as well, but I want to read the actual books because I think it'll give me more of a feel of them being separate adventures. I don't know, it might be a bit crazy. But this is the second book in the Michael Moorcock novels. I've also got 4 new Stephen King purchases, 2 of which I've had before, and one's just knackered, and I can't find it, but it's also knackered. The other one, I don't know what happened to it. So, Carey I found that second hand, so now I've got my second copy of Carey. I don't know what happened to the first one. So, I'm going to read this again soon, and this is the one that's absolutely knackered, my paperback version of this. So, I've got a hardback version of Nightmares and Dreamscapes, which I remember really liking. But I'm going to read this one again as well. Lots of people have different opinions about this online, but I've finally got the Eyes of the Dragon. So I'm going to be reading this without having read the Dark Tower series. So I don't know if that's going to hinder me, or if I can just enjoy this as a light fantasy that he wrote for his daughter. So we'll see. But there's the man himself. So yeah, I bought this one. And on that note, I finally found this quite cheap. I'm not, every single time I've looked through secondhand stuff, I've only ever seen the Dark Tower series like number 3 or number 4. Hardly ever, I've never seen the first one secondhand. But then I did find the first one secondhand, The Gunslinger. So I am going to read this, and I don't know if it's one of those situations where it doesn't really work until you start getting into the other books, and like by book 3 you feel like this is worth it. If that's true, I don't know if I'll get there, because I want this to feel like it's a good book in itself. So what do people think about that? I mean, I know a few of you that I speak to have read Dark Tower series. Do you need to read a load of them before you can feel like it's getting somewhere? That'd be a bit of a shame, but I'm going to read it, and then I can form my opinion about that. Ollie raved about this, and I did know about it before, but I didn't really intend to read it. But then he's whetted my appetite, so I'm going to be reading Tales of the City at some point. So yeah, this could be interesting. I thought they were separate tales, but I don't think they are. I think they're just anecdotal size stories that all mix together, I think. I don't think they're separate stories, but yeah, Tales of the City, very famous and influential book. So it'd be interesting to see what I think of it. I found another Alfred Bester book, so I really, really love the 2 that I've read, and I've got a few others of his now, but I haven't got into yet. But I've read the 2 famous ones, but I really like them so much. It seems a bit bizarre that he wouldn't have written other good stuff. So Extro is another Alfred Bester book that I've found. Yeah, as I said, I was going to be, when I talked about Dark Stars, I'm going to be discovering some of these new writers, and next month I'm going to be reading The Only Good Indian, which is by Stephen Graham Jones. He's one of the authors in that book, but also Paul Tremblay. I've heard so much about Paul Tremblay, and I bought A Head Full of Ghosts. So I think I bought that around Christmas time, and this is supposed to be really, really creepy and does your head in, so it could be one of those things that I need to be in the right, like maybe have a week off or something where I can really have a good delve. Stephen King said, "Scared the living daylights of me. Scared the living hell out of me," and I'm not easy to scare. So yeah, really look forward to this one. I don't think I've mentioned this before, but I think this is one of the oldest purchases in this batch. But I've now got Shirley Jackson's Lottery and Other Stories. So clearly, I love the Lottery story, but I wanted to get a book that was just hers, that had it in there. I've got it in some collections of mine, but I like this idea of exploring her stories more in a book that is titled The Lottery. So yeah, that's a obvious purchase. I love this cover. I talked about this cover in the in the book covers video I did, and this looks like a really interesting dystopian book on the beach by Shoot. So yeah, again, I've heard very general things about it, and it's not just dystopian, it's post-apocalyptic. So this is like the end of the world, kind of a few survivors, kind of decaying society kind of book. So it's not dystopian, post-apocalyptic. I found the 4th Expanse book really cheap. So again, I need to get back into the Expanse. I love the first book, so now I've got the first 4. I'm only going to buy them in order, but I'm not even anywhere near that at the minute. I've only read the first one, but I loved it, so that's really cool. I've got another Tom Holt book, and I didn't know much about this one. Nothing But Blue Skies. This particular cover artist, Paul Kemick, I'm certain he did the Snow White and the Seven Samurai book as well, because it looks a lot like his style, and the typeface is the same, so it could be they keep going to Paul Kemick for this series of books. And I like how he draws. So Snow White and the Seven Samurai is actually a book that I could have included in covers I really like. I think it's an awesome cover. But yeah, see what I think of this one. Again, like funny fantasy. I bought another non-fiction book about medieval music. So this was in Kim's Bookshop. I mentioned that a few times because you've got to go to Kim's Bookshop. If you're in the south of England and you're anywhere near Chichester or Arundel, then check out Kim's Bookshop. Yeah, medieval music. So I'm trying to find some really cool, rare books that really delve into the stuff that you don't see in the shelves on normal shops. As far as my investigation into the academic side of music history. Oh, I've also got Blaze, which is another Stephen King one that I found cheap that goes along with the other ones I bought. So I've got a few Stephen King purchases recently. And Blaze is a crime novel, so I think it was the first. Yeah, it would have been the first, because the Richard Bachman novel is the first crime one he's done. But yeah, I like it when he writes crime, so that'd be quite cool. I've got 2 short story anthologies. This is one that it wasn't edited by Ray Bradbury, but he had a hand in it. He introduces it, he writes an introduction, and there's a story by him in it. It looks really interesting. Tales of Dungeons and Dragons. It's got authors like Bram Stoker, Edgar Allan Poe, William Faulkner, Robert Bloch, John Wyndham, Stephen King, although I've read the Stephen King one, Algernon Blackwood, T.H. White, Fritz Leiber, Olaf Stapleton, John Dunsany, William Morris, H.P. Lovecraft, Robert E. Howard, John Gardner, Ray Bradbury, loads of big names. So yeah, I thought that was quite a nice collection to look at. And this one is Science Fiction Hall of Fame Volume 2. I love these Hall of Fame ones. I had loads of them when I was younger. And this has got people like Powell Anderson. It's got Who Goes There, John W. Campbell, one of my all-time favourite stories, which I'll be talking about in a favourite stories video. Lester Del Rey, Robert Heinlein, C.M. Kornbluth, Frank Russell, Caldwainer Smith, Theodore Sturgeon, Jack Williamson. I mean, obviously, Hall of Fame, they're going to be big names. But it does look really good. And talking of big names, this was an amazing find. I want to read this and do a special video on it, because I doubt if people will know, a lot of people know about this. I certainly had never heard that Ray Bradbury, the great Ray Bradbury, had written this book. So this is a book by him called Zen and the Art of Writing. So people may be familiar with Stephen King's books on writing, and there's a few authors that have done that kind of thing, but I've never seen one by Ray Bradbury. So if you've seen this, let me know if you've read it. But if you haven't, this might be something that you might be interested in. It's a really good find. And if you're into Ray Bradbury and didn't know this exists, that's why book hauls exist, videos exist, right? So yeah, Ray Bradbury, Zen and the Art of Writing. There he is himself. And yeah, I haven't read it yet, but this is him writing about writing. So this just, I expect this to be brilliant. Michael Shabon, The Amazing Adventures of Cavalier and Clay. This was a book that I've heard about on YouTube, so I didn't really know much about this before, and it's just piqued my curiosity, so I'll tell you a little bit about it. One night in 1939, Joseph Cavalier shuffles into his cousin Sam Clay's cramped New York bedroom, his nerve-wracking escape from Prague finally achieved. Little does he realise that this is the beginning of an extraordinary friendship and even more fruitful business partnership. Together they create a comic strip called The Escapist, its superhero Nazi-busting saviour who liberates the oppressed around the world. The Escapist makes their fortune, but Joe can think of only one thing. How can he effect a real-life escape and free his family from the tyranny of Hitler? So yeah, sounds like loads going on there, and quite an inventive way of looking at that period. Talking about things a little bit thinking outside the box, Malcolm Price did a bunch of detective novels based in Aberystwyth, and I think the joke was that Aberystwyth is a very small Welsh town and nothing ever happens in it, and there's a whole kind of running joke running through the whole books, kind of with the detective thinking, can't believe this is happening in Aberystwyth. And I only read one of his books, but I bought a few more because I really enjoyed it. I thought it was funny and interesting and just nicely written. You know, didn't change the world, but it was a bit of fun. The Unbearable Lightness of Being in Aberystwyth. So this is one of those Louis Knight mysteries. So another crime series that I've actually started reading. So I've started reading crime. Is it Ollie's fault? I don't know. It might be Ollie's fault. So 4 more books. So this has been a long video. If you're still here, maybe it's because some of these books look good. I finally got this. So I found this one second hand. Didn't get this one on the Waterstones. I got this second hand. Philip Pullman's The Good Man Jesus and The Scoundrel Christ. I've heard a lot about this book, but never owned it before. And I'm going to read this at some point. He's been quite outspoken about his views about religion, and this is a very provocative book, so sort of thing that I like reading. This is really interesting. I'd never heard of this. I found it, and I assumed it was like a non-fiction kind of biography type thing about racism, and it's much more specific than that. So I'll tell you about what this book is. I Shall Not Hate. On 16th of January 2009, just 12 weeks after their mother died of leukemia, Izzeldin Ibiwale's 3 eldest daughters and his niece were killed when their bedroom in the family home of Gaza was ripped apart by Israeli shells. I Shall Not Hate, which movingly recounts the family tragedy, also tells the life story of the Gaza doctor who treats patients on both sides of the conflict. From this impoverished childhood in a refugee camp to become one of the world's leading infertility experts, his has been an extraordinary life. So this is an account of his life and his attitude to the whole Israeli-Palestinian conflict. So really interesting. I Shall Not Hate. And then just to finish, as I said earlier, I do like absurdist stuff, and I've because I really enjoyed the first book I read by Andrew Kaufman, I've bought 2 more. So I have read this, and I haven't mentioned it on BookTube yet because I want to read the other one and do one about the 3 books I've read. So The Tiny Wife, it's a very short book, but I really enjoyed it. I don't think I enjoyed it as much as All My Friends Are Superheroes, but I did enjoy it, and I like the way his mind works. And this is a little bit longer. It's a bit more like a normal novel length, and this is called Born Weird. And it's I'll read a bit of the back so you can see kind of. Oh, there's nothing on the back. I'll read a bit somewhere. It should tell me about the book. The Weirds had always been a little peculiar, but not one of them suspected they'd been cursed. At the moment of their birth, Annie Weird gave each of her 5 grandchildren a special power that she thought was a blessing. Richard, the oldest, would always keep safe. Abba would always have hope. Lucy would never get lost, and Kent would be able to beat anyone in a fight. As for Angie, she would always forgive instantly, but over the years these blessings turned out to be curses that ruined their lives. Now Annie is dying, and she has one last task for Angie, her favourite grandchild. Angie must gather her far-flung brothers and sisters and assemble them in her grandmother's hospital room so that at the moment of her death, Annie can lift these blessings turned curses. And Angie has just 3 weeks to do it. This just looks, thinking outside the box. Andrew Kaufman. So that's it. That's my very large book haul for the spring period, I guess. I won't do another one for a while, although I have got my birthday coming up, so maybe I'll get some books for my birthday, I don't know. But if you'd like any of these books, then please comment below. Let me know what you think of it. If you like the authors, but you don't know those books, please talk to me about the authors. It's been a really interesting load of new books I've got, and those ones I got from London yesterday were some great finds. I've just found some really interesting things, some of it I'd never seen before, which is great. So anyway, thanks for watching. See you later. Bye.
Picture of what it's like to be you.